You know what's strange about being born between 1988 and 1996? You're the only people in history who got a childhood in one world and an adolescence in a completely different one. And unlike everyone older or younger than you, the switch happened at the exact moment you were becoming a person. Millennials talk about remembering the before times. Gen Z never saw them. But you? You are the hinge itself. Your childhood was analog. Your teenage years were digital. And that split, right down the middle of your formative years, built a very specific kind of person, one that nobody has a clean label for, and one this video is finally going to explain. Picture this. It's 1999. You're maybe 8, 9 years old. Saturday morning. You've been awake since 7 because cartoons are a scheduled event, not a menu. If you miss it, it's gone, and no force on earth brings it back until the rerun. Breakfast is cereal with a cartoon mascot and a toy buried inside like treasure. Later, you'll go outside. Actually outside, because that's where the other kids are, and the rule of the entire neighborhood is the same one your parents grew up with. Be home when the streetlights come on. If you want to know if your friend can play, you walk to their house and knock. Nobody has a phone. Nothing is recorded. The afternoon simply happens, once, and then it only exists in your memory. Now hold that picture, because 6 years later, everything in it is gone. By the time you're 14, there's a family computer in the living room making that screaming dial-up sound, and you have a screen name you chose yourself, and you're having entire relationships through instant messages after school. The away message is your first social media post. The buddy list is your first follower count. And here's the part psychologists find fascinating about your exact cohort. This transition didn't happen to you as an adult, when your identity was already formed, and it didn't happen before you could remember. It happened during the exact window, roughly ages 10 to 15, when the human brain is doing its deepest work on identity, belonging, and social rules. You didn't adopt the internet, you grew up inside its arrival. And that timing installed some very specific traits. Let's name them. First, you are bilingual in a way no generation before or after you will ever be. Not in languages, in worlds. You know how to wait because your childhood ran on waiting, for the song on the radio, for the photos to come back, for your turn on the family computer, for the download bar to crawl across the screen over 45 minutes for one song. Delayed gratification wasn't a virtue you were taught, it was the physics of your world. But you also mastered every platform that came after, young enough that none of it intimidates you. So today you're the person who can sit through a slow dinner without checking your phone, and also the person who can learn any new app in an afternoon. People older than you tend to have the patience without the fluency. People younger have the fluency without the patience. You have both, and you don't even notice, because to you it just feels normal. Second, you have a very particular relationship with being seen. Think about what your childhood didn't have: an audience. Your most embarrassing moments, the haircuts, the outfits, the things you said in 5th grade, exist in maybe 4 people's memories and 1 shoebox of physical photos with somebody's thumb over the lens. Your teenage years, though, were the first ones lived partly online, but on an internet that still forgot. MySpace died. The old forums died. The embarrassing away messages are gone forever. You got to experiment with who you were, publicly, and then have the record quietly erased. No generation after you will ever get that mercy. Kids today grow up with a permanent archive from birth. And this is why so many 90s kids have that instinct you might recognize in yourself. You're comfortable online, but some part of you still treats the internet like a place you visit, not a place you live. You post less than younger people. You keep some things offline on purpose. That's not being behind. That's remembering that the best parts of your life happened with no audience at all, and lost nothing for it. Third, your generation runs on a very specific fuel, and it's not nostalgia exactly. It's the memory of boredom. Real boredom, the kind with no exit. When the cartoons ended and the afternoon stretched out empty, there was no feed to open. So your mind learned to build. Games with invented rules, entire storylines for your toys, forts, plans, imaginary worlds. Researchers who study creativity keep finding the same thing. Unstructured, even boring time is where children develop imagination and self-directed thought. You got years of it, right before boredom went extinct. And that's why so many of you can still entertain yourselves inside your own head indefinitely. Why you actually enjoy long drives and quiet mornings, and why the modern world's total war on boredom sometimes feels to you like it's stealing something it doesn't understand. Now, I want to be honest about the other side of this, because your generation carries a specific weight too. You were promised one world and delivered another. Your childhood taught you the old rules. Work hard, be patient, things take time. And then your early adulthood landed in the middle of a financial crisis, a housing market that left you behind, and an economy that quietly deleted the script you'd been handed. You watched the stable adulthood your parents modeled become unreachable right as you arrived at it. So a lot of 90s kids live with a strange double feeling, genuinely grateful for the childhood, and quietly grieving the adulthood that was supposed to follow it. Both of those are real. You're not imagining either one. And there's one more quiet weight. You're the generation everyone forgets to name. Too young for the classic millennial story, too old for Gen Z, you've spent your whole life watching other generations get explained while you sat between the definitions. If you've ever read a generational article and thought, "That's close, but not quite me," this is why. The people born 1988 to 1996 are the last children of the analog world and the first natives of the digital one, and neither side fully claims you. But here's the reframe, and it's the whole point of this video. Not being claimed is not the same as not mattering. Every era of massive change produces a small group of people who carry both worlds inside them. And right now, as the entire culture argues about what screens are doing to childhood, you are the only people alive who lived the before and the after during the years that count. Everyone older can only describe the before. Everyone younger can only imagine it. You hold the actual comparison, in your own memory, in your own nervous system. That's not a forgotten generation. That's the reference generation. The ones the future will ask what it was like when the world changed. So yeah, you memorized your best friend's landline. You burned CDs with extremely serious track ordering. You survived dial-up, away message drama, and the death of every platform you grew up on. And somewhere along the way, you became the last people who will ever remember what attention felt like before anyone was bidding on it. That's not just nostalgia, that's a kind of wealth, and most of you don't even know you're carrying it. Drop your birth year and the 190s memory that just came back to you while watching. The comments on these videos turn into a time machine, and I read every single one. If you want the other half of this story, the video on your screen right now is about the generation born just before you, the ones who got the same split a few years earlier. And subscribe if you're new here, because this channel is for the people who never quite fit the labels everyone else got. See you in the next one.